What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Chargers franchise in Madden 17. The Chargers currently sit on top of the AFC West with a 6-2 record, just a game ahead of the Oakland Raiders, though don't count them out quite yet. And they're also within shouting distance of a first-round bye and a potential playoff situation. The Jets a half game ahead, but they do hold the tiebreaker as the Chargers beat the Jets head-to-head. The Jets have yet to have their bye week. The Chargers already had their bye week in week number 8. And so as promised, here are the scores from our week 6 and week 7 matchups against the Kansas City Chiefs and Oakland Raiders. I actually originally intended to play this game against the Kansas City Chiefs, but I was doing a routine cleaning of my save files because I create a save file for every single week, and I deleted the week before this week, but for the week of the Kansas City Chiefs game, but for some reason I had happened to save the week after the Chiefs game twice, and I don't like to play successive games usually in this, or games against the same opponent twice, because that ended up happening the first season on accident. I tried to avoid that now, so I just decided to skip that set of games altogether, as again, for some reason I overwrote the save file for week 6, I believe it was, would be this game against the Chiefs with week 7's actual save. I don't know what happened there. I have not had an issue like that before, but that's why I only played 3 out of the first 8 games. Also, our team was kind of rolling in the simulation. We played 2 games, and I would have played against the Jets if I had known the Jets were going to be a good team, but they're not really that great of a team if you look at their roster. They've just been overperforming, I think, up to this point in the season, and we'll go over their roster if we potentially end up in the playoffs. But they have a rookie quarterback and Matt Forte. They still have Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker, those guys, but really they don't have a whole lot, and their 7-2 record is very surprising, but we thrashed them when we went head-to-head. We scored 104 points in 2 straight games, or over 2 games, 52 apiece against the Dolphins and Jets. So we do have the tiebreaker over the Jets in a potential playoff situation, but with the rash of injuries, I wouldn't be so sure about the playoffs. I will show that coming up next, as we will encounter another injury during the simulation from this week to next week, because we will be playing the next week's game on our schedule, not the week that I'm recording these stats during, because this is between our matchup versus the Patriots, which would be our 8th game of the season, and our 9th game of the season against the Philadelphia Eagles. I haven't I'm not going to show the score in this episode. I'll show it before the next one because I didn't capture the footage for it. But I did sim past the week already, and we have another pretty big injury. And you'll see that one first on your screen right here. Jason Verrett fractured his foot, and he will be missing the rest of the season. Big blow to an already weak Chargers secondary, and a thin team has just gotten thinner on defenses. Jason Verrett was really our best defensive player, our biggest piece in that secondary. And I'm not sure how the IR works this year. I believe that if you get put on the IR, you can't come back for the playoffs. I'm not sure on that. I'm probably going to be testing it. So in theory, I probably could have brought Travis Benjamin back, but at the same time, you know, it wasn't really worth it. I just put him on the IR. Wasn't really 100% thinking it through when at the time that I made that move. And I'm not going to show team stats in this video, like where our team ranks and offensive yards and all that, because not every team has had their bye week yet. When I did this midseason video last year, every team had had their bye week by that point, so all the stats were fine. I don't know why it doesn't do some sort of yards per game type of thing, but back to the point about the injuries. We did spend a couple of mid-round picks this year on people in case this type of injury situation did happen. I've been progressing our 4th round corner. I believe we drafted him in the 3rd or 4th round, Antoine Benford. He has pretty okay coverage ratings at this point. We also have Daryl Worley, who played pretty well last year when we made him our number 2 corner. Leon Hall's had a really good year, and Casey Hayward's been very, very solid for us. So it's not like the secondary's in the worst situation ever, but we're pretty much resigned to just playing with 3 corners now. We had been playing a few 4-corner sets, but now we only have 4 corners on the roster, and I really don't have any money to go sign anybody. And the receiver situation, we have a couple of guys who are a little lower rated but have good ratings. We also have Craig Brink, who we drafted in the 2nd round. Doesn't have the greatest just raw catching ratings, but he has a good catch in traffic, good spectacular catch, and he has 92 speed. So he can really, if nothing else, just serve as a decoy, run routes, you know, 90 yards down the field. It wouldn't actually be that far because the football field is only 100 yards, and traditionally you start at the 25 yard line. I guess it would be now that they changed the kickoffs. But Craig Brink does have vertical speed, so he can be a downfield threat if nothing else. And Travis Benjamin was our leading receiver on the year, but in games themselves, I hadn't really been finding him, and I plan on playing at least 4 of these remaining games. At least I plan on. I'll probably be playing against the Raiders, Cowboys, Chiefs, and maybe the Giants and Redskins if it comes down to the very end of the season. If not, it will be either the Giants or Redskins. I'd say more than likely the Giants. If it comes down to some division clinching scenario, it'll probably end up being both. But yeah, the season is not looking the greatest at this point, 6-2, but we've received 2 pretty big injuries to our team. I'm really more concerned about the Jason Verrett thing than anything else, because nobody on our roster has above 82 man coverage, which factors big into the simulation, because when I play, I usually play a lot of zone because our safeties aren't very good and our linebackers are pretty good at coverage. So I play a lot of zone, but the computer, like when they sim, man coverage does come into effect quite a bit. So I'm a little bit concerned about that from a simulation standpoint, because Jason Verrett had like a 92 man cover. But I'm not the most concerned about a secondary, but it is definitely something to watch, as Jason Verrett is a excellent corner, and we don't really have a lot of those. I think like Hayward has like 82 man, and Leon Hall's like 80, and I think Benford have progressed up to like an 80, but I'm a little bit concerned about that. The receiver thing, not so much. We have Craig Brink, as I said. We also have Jalen Marshall on our roster, current New York Jet, who has pretty good hands on this game at least. And we have another guy who I signed as an undrafted free agent that also has very good hands, not the greatest awareness, but he has 92 speed, a lot like Craig Brink. Just a little bit more raw as a receiving talent. Good hands, but there's not really the catch in traffic or spectacular catch ratings like there is with Brink. So we're okay at receiver, I'd say. We still have 5 on the roster, even with Travis Benjamin's injury. And he was leading our team, but Keenan Allen has probably been on the verge of a breakout for a while. He had like 1,400 receiving yards last year, and as you saw, he only has like, I think, 500 so far on the year. So on pace for a 1,000-yard season, but definitely not up to par with what he was last year, and I expect a big second half of the season from him. But anyway, I've rambled on long enough. That's going to do it. I intended to include a scouting thing to show you guys what I was looking at, but I'll recap it pretty much. I was looking at pass rushers. I was also looking at ways to improve our secondary, because I plan on switching to a 4-3 this offseason, and I want to get I think we're good with our defensive front, and we'll worry about what to do with an extra, because wanted to get another interior lineman for a while, but we'll definitely look into that in the offseason, see what free agency and the draft has to offer us. But I'm really looking into improving our secondary. I wanted another good corner so I can run a lot of dime, put a guy basically just to cover tight ends, and also I want a cheaper option in Leon Hall's spot, because $4 million for as good as Leon Hall is a little bit too much for my personal taste. I would like to save the money on a draft pick, and that's really how contenders are built, is you have a lot of cheap rookie talent playing at a high level, along with these high-priced veterans on extensions. We also need help at both safety spots. Brandon Flowers has been serviceable, but he's probably not going to be with the team next year. I'm going to probably end up having to trade or cut him to save salary cap space, because he's going to be paid $10 million next year. Terrence Mitchell hasn't been bad when I played the games, but in the simulation, he's just terrible. He has allowed 15 catches and only deflected 2 passes all season. So I don't know how that's going to... I don't really know how we're going to go forward with that, but I'm definitely looking at improving the secondary or acquiring another pass rusher for our transition to a 4-3 to be a little bit easier, because I think the way that the 3-4 is structured is kind of broken. I'd actually really love if Madden just made it an option to play base nickel, because I would just do that and then choose what kind of defensive front I wanted from there, whether it be a 4-2 or a 3-3, But I've rambled on long enough. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Stay tuned for the next episode of the Chargers franchise, where we will be taking on the Oakland Raiders. See you then.